Hi everyone, my name is Kayla. Welcome back to Kay's Hidden Shelf, where we talk about books. Today I have another book haul, and specifically this book haul is going to be all indie or self-published fantasy books. These books have been on my radar for quite some time, and of course with Amazon Prime Day, they were on sale, so I couldn't resist getting physical copies in order to start reading them. Let's start with the first one, and this is one by a friend of mine actually as well, and that is Talondors Guest by Charles McGarry, otherwise known as Bookish Chaz. This is meant to be inspired from The Hobbit, I believe, and that is one of my favorite books. I reread it every year, so to have a book written by a friend inspired from my favorite book, I knew I had to read it. Let me read the back for you. Along the many complex currents of existence lies a bleak, desolate planet. Once densely populated, lush with vegetation, and teeming with life, it now lies barren and forsaken, evidence of years of marauding by a great and powerful dragon. To this world, an equally powerful being has arrived, traveling the currents with his magic. The traveler soon discovers that he must entertain a very finicky dragon in exchange for his life, and only the most extraordinary stories will suffice. He may escape, yet there is a chance his travels may have come to an end. Such is the dilemma of Talondors Guest. So this just sounds like a fun read with a bit of a high stakes involved, but I'm curious to see how he decides to spin all these tales in this one story. And it is a relatively short read at about 250 pages. I'm looking forward to this one and seeing how The Hobbit has influenced this story. Next is one I'm not going to talk a whole lot about. The reason being is that it is book 2, and I haven't read book 1 yet. I will be starting book 1 in a day or two, but that is Tattered Banners, Book 2 in the War of the Last Day by Karim Solomon. This is a self-published fantasy, and I am wanting to read them back to back, so I wanted to have book 2 on hand for when I finish Army of the Cursed. So I'm not going to go a whole lot into this. I will leave a link to where I've talked about the Army of the Cursed in other videos if you'd like to take a look at that, but you will be seeing this more on the channel in future. Next is a book that I've had my eye on for a while, and that is A Drowned Kingdom by P.L. Stewart. PL is just a fantastic human being and is very insightful. I've watched quite a few of his discussions and interviews with Steve, and I'll leave links where you can find more of those down below. But I wanted to give his book a try and see where all of the hype and love for the Drowned Kingdom comes into place. Let me read the back for you. Once second prince of the mightiest kingdom in the known world, Othran now leads the last survivors of his exiled people into an uncertain future far across the shimmering sea from their ancestral home, now lost beneath the waves. With his single god binding his knights to chivalric oaths intent on wiping out idolatry and pagan worship, they will have to carve out a new kingdom on this mysterious continent. A continent that has for centuries been ravaged by warlords competing for supremacy and mages channeling their mystic powers of the elements and unite the continent under one godly rule. With a troubled past, a cursed sword, and a mysterious spirit guiding him, Othran means to be that ruler and conqueror all. But with kingdoms fated on the edge of spears, alliances and pagan magic, betrayal, doubt, and dangers await him at every turn. Othran will be forced to confront the truths of all he believes in on his journey to become king and a legend. When one kingdom drowns, a new one must rise in its place. So begins the saga of that kingdom and a man who would rule it all. This definitely sounds like it's going to be probably heavy in religious influences and political intrigue, which are both aspects that I love in books. And from what I've heard, I am in for a great read. Next is a book that I've had on my radar for a while, but just haven't been able to get to. I got an opportunity to get the physical copy and I couldn't pass that up, and that is The Seventh Cadence by Jim Welborn. Now this is book 1 in the Continua Chronicles, and I've heard that this is great for fans of Brandon Sanderson, Brent Weeks, or Robert Jordan. Now I love Brandon Sanderson, so I am really curious to see where the love comes from and how it's similar to Brandon Sanderson in a way. But I've heard so many great things about this, and also just look at this cover. Now, this is a bit of a chunker at just under 700 pages. Let's read the back. After a supernatural and unforeseen calamity shatters the tentative alliance of the Five Realms, the Dezeran Dominion has returned to take back their homeland and restore their oppressive regime. As the Dominion readies their troops for invasion, the fate of the entire world rests in the hands of a fugitive scientist, a powerful pacifist, and an unseasoned prince with little to guide them but their own ideals. With the freedom of a kingdom at risk, each must find their place in a world torn asunder. Now, this is a high fantasy with some war. It says it has found family in it, which is my favorite trope, and a reckoning with fate. So when I was opening up these packages and I picked up the Seventh Cadence, I thought, wow, that's a heavy book. And then I picked up the next one, which was even heavier. And I have to say I was surprised because it didn't seem like it was going to be this hefty, but it's hefty, and that is We Break Immortals by Thomas Howard Riley. This is book 1 in the Advent Lumina cycle. This is a beefy, chunky, hefty book. This is like a brick, and I can't wait to try it. I have heard good things about this. Let me just read the short caption on the back for you. A drug addict who hunts sorcerers, the most renowned swordsman no one has ever heard of, and a thieving, magic-wielding woman hell-bent on revenge collide during a last-ditch effort to stop an insane superhuman serial killer from making himself a god. With that caption and this amount of chunk, I'm just anticipating a fantastic wild ride. So those are all of the books that I picked up on sale. Again, these are all self-published or indie fantasy books, and I believe many of these are debut novels for the authors. If you're interested, I'll leave links down below where you can find out more about these books. I'd love to know what's a book that you've hauled recently that you are really eager to get into and maybe are a bit hyped for. Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. As always, thank you for watching and take care of yourselves.